Hi, welcome to PG6Ness channel. This is going to be a brief discussion of what has happened in the gun market since the Sandy Hook shooting and just a little bit before. As you can see on the board there, I've got a bunch of shit drawn out. Basically dates ranging from October 31st, 2012, which is a randomly picked date that's roughly close to 2 years ago, to today, which is October 28th. 2014. Below them are prices for given guns at that day, more or less. Some of these are generalizations, but most of these are pretty spot on. If you look over there, there's an AR in the top category, an AK below it, a Glock below that, and a PMag on the bottom. I picked those because the AR and the AK were the two big ones that were fluctuating. There were others too, but anything high capacity was. The PMag was the gold standard for fucking rise and fall in magazine prices, and the Glock, as you can see by the chart, pretty much stayed the same. Okay, we're going to talk about all of these, talk about what happened, and we're going to talk about what I did when all this was going on and what I recommend you do. And I'm going to guess 2 years when this happens again, because this is going to happen again. I don't know for sure it's going to happen in 2 years, but it might. I would be prepared to do this again, because it's going to come. Anyway, at the start over here, I'll zoom in a little bit. Second. There we go. This column is October 31st, 2012. Those are pretty current prices for those four at that time. I remember $13.95 being the cheapest price you could get a PMag for back in the day. You never saw them cheaper than that. $700 was just about as cheap as you could build an AR. I mean, if you did like a polymer lower or some shit like that, or really tried to cut costs somewhere by cheaping out, you could get cheaper, but for getting a good AR, $700 was the lowest you could go, building one. Next to that, we have December 14th, 2012. That was the day the Sandy Hook shooting happened, which, in case you need to see that, that's what's written up there. Pretty much overnight, $700 ARs went to become $1,000 ARs. Wasser 10s that were $500 were now $800. Glocks went up $100, about $600, and that mainly had to do with the Gen 4s that had 3 magazines. Those were the ones that went up. All the rest of them stayed about the same. I mean, the Gen 3s maybe went up a little bit too, but I remember distinctly right afterwards you couldn't find a Glock 17 for less than $600. And PMags did something funny. I put 100 there for the price, and I'm going to explain. Pretty much December 14th, not much happened. December 15th, Cheaper Than Dirt raised their price to $30. December 16th, Cheaper Than Dirt raised their price to $100. And then the panic fucking happened, and that's when all these prices went up. On most shit. Shit was normal for a couple of days. Most people don't remember that. And prices, went up a little bit, but supply was still there, which kept prices down a little bit on some things like AR-15s for a little while. And even mags. In the first starts of this, you could still find PMags for $50. Okay? $60. By January 31st, 2013, you could not find a PMag to save your life. If you could, they were definitely $100. Glocks had gone back down because Glock basically squashed all of the people that were raising their prices. From what I understand, they basically put out a message that said, if we come by and see that you're scalping people on prices, you will no longer sell Glocks. That put the fear of God into a lot of gun shops, because up to, I don't know, a third of some gun shop sales are Glocks. I mean, they're an incredibly popular gun. So Glocks throughout this stayed about the same. AKs never really went above $800 to $1,000. You know, I put 800 because we're talking about a Wasser 10 there. That's what I'm basing the price off of. Arsenals and shit, of course, went much higher. If it was already $1,000 AK, it wasn't $800. And your basic AR-15, like just plain Jane, I built this in my garage with a spikes lower and a God knows who M4 upper. It was up to $1,200. And just put that into perspective. That's a gun, even on its best day back in 2012, before all that happened, you probably couldn't even get your $700 back after building it. Now you can get $1,200 plus out of it. It's crazy. And there's a point to all this. We're going to get to that here at the end. But okay, next date I consider to be important is May 31st, 2013. May 31st, 2013 is right about the time prices started to fall. I noticed it, other people did. It took about 6 months in total for all that shit to happen. And they dropped back down to kind of where they were immediately after at first. And by 2014, we're a little bit below. And by halfway through 2014, whoa, what the fuck's happening? This is the point we're going to get at. If you notice, somewhere in here, something happened. Prices dropped in half on a bunch of shit. And if you look at the last category, which is today, those prices are pretty current. Online, you can get a Wasser 10 for $450. I can get a parts kit from Delton or PSA for about $400. Get a rear sight and a lower receiver and a mag for about another $100, depending on who it is, maybe a little more. You know, like a Spikes is going to be more, but like an Anderson strip lower, you can get for $60, and you can get a rear sight for about $25 on eBay, and get a mag for $8. You can get a GI mag for $5. They're giving those things away. Anyway, so why are guns all of a sudden way cheaper? That's the subject of this video. I mean, obviously, people are willing to pay big fucking money for them. It's kind of like a supply and demand type deal here. Haven't heard too many channels talk about this, but back when that shit was happening, companies that built those went, holy crap, we can sell guns for fucking $1,200 a piece. Let's make as many as we possibly can. Seems like a great idea, huh? Well, we're reaping the benefits now, if you have money to buy guns with, because of this. Now they're fucking cheap. I mean, you can get as many PMags as you want for $8 a piece. You can get fucking ARs for $500. You can get AKs even cheaper than that. You can get VZ58s even cheaper than an AK, like $3.99. It's insane. They overbuilt everything. All these companies just built the shit out of everything they could build that was high cap. Anything that was assault looking. That's why everything like that now is bottom of the basement type shit. I mean, you can get it cheap, which is awesome. Another kind of side effect that caused this is people went out and spent shit tons of money over here. Over here, they need to pay bills, and they have rifles sitting in the corner that they never use. They take these to pawn shops and gun shows and try to sell them for that, when everybody else is selling shit, probably about there, $900, $650. Sorry for all the camera movement. What does this do? Well, they get there, they realize no one's ever going to pay what they had in it, a bunch of people decide they're just going to take a loss, and they try to get what they can get out of it, which ends up being probably about $400. This means that people who were going to buy, a rifle for, $900 to $550, somewhere in there, are finding screaming deals from people walking around the gun show for $400. Or screaming deals at the pawn shop because they get a used gun in for $400, mark it up to $500 and sell it. Okay? So the people who would have bought guns from these companies are now buying the surplus stock from the people who bought when it was crazy high, and they're now selling cheap. This means that the companies aren't selling guns, which means they drop prices to try to sell guns. Which has basically led us to where we are now. We are in the golden age of firearms. These are the good old days. Right now, shit is never going to be this cheap again. I'm telling you this right now. Even in 2 years, if this shit happens again, you won't see shit that cheap. These prices are as low as shit's ever going to get again. Unless we have a bunch of major economic changes in this country and the dollar becomes way stronger, which doesn't look like it's likely to happen. Now is the time to buy. When all this shit happened, I got flack from a whole bunch of people because right about here, I sold all my shit. Right about when things started to crest, I sold off everything. And actually, I traded for that BAR parts kit. I sold off a bunch of shit to pay for that, and I sold off everything else just to have fucking money in the bank. Because money in the bank at that point was better to have than the guns. I knew that then, and I tried to warn a few people and got told that I was a fucking idiot, so I didn't tell anyone else. Because Obama's going to pass some big scary bill, and he's going to take your guns away. Digga. Fucking idiots. Now, admittedly, I did buy an AK and a Glock I saw cheap not too long after that. Because occasionally you would see a good deal or something, and I wasn't just going to not have anything. So I peddled around with a few guns here and there, and I really started buying back somewhere in here, January to May 2014. When I saw the cheap parts kits, the $400 Delton M4 kits, that's when I really started buying back. So I was like, damn, that's cheap. Anyway, if you look back at some of my older videos, I only had maybe like 10 guns or so. I sold them all off, pocketed most of the money, and I bought back over here, and sorry, you can't see where I'm pointing. I bought back over here, and now I have like 25 some odd guns. If this happens again and you see prices go up like crazy, sell your shit and wait for the fallout. I'm not joking. Now, what could happen, it could have, you sell here and it just doesn't ever drop. It's entirely possible. But at this point, the $1,200 for a fucking plain Jane Franken gun, it wasn't going to get any higher than that. That was the price of shit, in the middle of the fucking Clinton ban. People just aren't willing to pay more than that for that gun. Now, Colts and shit were bringing thousands of dollars, of course, because they're fucking Colts. All sorts of other shit like that, too. See, anything else to say? Basically, this is a public service announcement. You should go buy shit now. Because when shit gets cheap like this, inevitably something's going to happen to fuck it up. I mean, we aren't going to keep having these prices for forever. Eventually, they're going to run out of surplus stock, and they're going to hike their prices back up to, I'm going to guess, around here. Okay? we might go back to normal, but I bet it's going to be a little bit above normal. They're going to want to make some of their money back. As long as the economy's bad, though, I think we can count on cheap prices because they want to still sell shit and stuff. You know, under $600 is what's selling right now. Expensive shit is not selling. Anyway, I hope someone found this video informative and interesting. I find this whole thing very, very interesting. That, you know, we get crazy high, and now we're experiencing the fucking valley from it. It's so fucking low right now, and no one is buying guns. If you go out to a gun show right now, people are carrying around stuff to trade or sell. They are not buying shit. I went to a gun show a couple weekends ago, and I bought what is probably a couple $1,000s worth of guns value-wise for about $700 or $800. Okay, I bought a VZ58 for $400. I bought a VZ52 for about $300. I bought a VZ24 for about $200. And all of those guns are $300 plus guns. You know, well, the VZ24 is, you know, probably $350-ish, $400. The other two guns are $600-700 guns, in my opinion. You know, will they sell for that right now? No, but in the future they probably will. I guess that's my point. The same thing with those cheap M4s. The two I've built, they're guns that you could not build for less than $1,000 a couple of years ago. And now, because the parts are all cheap and they specifically built the most popular models, such as the 14.5-inch pinned and welded M4 barrels, that $1,000 gun now costs, you know, $500. And in reality, that $500 AR is better than that $1,000 AR. Fucking crazy. Yeah, anyway. Hope somebody liked this. I'll talk to you guys later. I may do some more videos on this subject in the future. I'm not going to erase this for now. What were your guys' experiences during the whole panic buying thing, now that it's officially dead, and we are in the can't sell shit period that comes afterwards? I'd be real interested to hear other people's experiences. See you later. Don't forget to thumbs up the video and subscribe and all that other bullshit.